how to do some basic moving clips around, trimming your video, cutting out any chunks of video you'd like, as well as some of the built-in tools for the Windows editor that will allow you to make it a little bit prettier, because we all need a little bit of joy in our lives. So with that in mind, I am going to remember to record this session. I did.
Sarah.
Beautiful. Sandy is already on top of it. If you would like to not be recorded, you're encouraged to turn your camera off. So let us get started. I'm going to start with Windows because that is the computer I'm facing. Share my screen. That is my email. And so I'm going to start by just going into my search bar or my start menu on my computer. And I'm still here, right?
Yes.
Cool. It gave me a notification that I was signed off because I signed in on another device, but I think I am here on both.
You're here.
So I'm going to search for video editor on my computer. You can find it under apps, and it's also your Photos app. I find this to be the most efficient way to find it. I just search it, and there it is. You can see I have a few projects in here already. I can easily switch over to Photos, and it can be just the photos I have on my device as well, or tab back over to Video Editor. So when we want to start something new, I'm basing this workshop on the idea that you already have some video that you would like to edit. So if you do not, step one is to create some either through Zoom or what your other video creation device of choice. That could be Screencast-O-Matic, it could be Blackboard Collaborate, any number of those. If you need questions answered about creating video, I'm happy to chat to you after the editing part. So we're going to start by clicking on New Video Project to create something new. And we'll title it Training Video, very creatively. We have a few components to our screen here. We have our project library, which is all of the media that we have brought into this project to work on. When we get to the Mac, you will find lots of parts of this look similar. So that's the exciting thing about the standard video editing programs, is that a lot of them have the same components. They're just a little bit tweaked. So anything we want to add to our video, we'll bring in here. Over here, this black screen is where we will preview what we're working on. And down here is our storyboard. This is where we'll do the actual lining up of edits. I'm going to get started by hitting add. We can add things from a number of places. From my collection is stuff that is already in use in your video or in your video editor. You can add things from the web. So if I wanted to find stock images, I could bring them here as well. For instance, if I would like to find cats, there's cats. I even have the option to check Creative Commons only to make sure that we are using appropriately permissioned photos. So I can bring in these adorable kittens having a fight. And here it is ready to be added to my project. While I'm at it, I'm also going to add from my computer. I'm going to browse my computer the way I would if I was attaching a file to an email. In this case, I know that what I want is in my documents, in my Northampton folder, and I have two videos and a picture here that I brought in. If you were in my video best practices workshop, you might recognize some of these videos. Now, I can go back at any time and add more things if I want to here. But for now, this will get us started. When you are ready to add something to your finished video, it is as simple as clicking it and dragging it into your storyboard. So now when I hit play over here,
hello and welcome to our first
there goes my video.
class.
I don't think I'm sharing my sound, but I assure you I am speaking. So now one of the things I know I want to do to this particular video is at the end, I had an awkward pause while I stopped the video. So down here, right above your storyboard, you have a variety of options. One of them being trim. When you hit trim, it brings up the entire clip together with a beginning point and an end point. If I drag either one of those, it will shorten the video at that point. You will also notice this little round pin above the time stamp. That is where I stopped playing the video. So if you know that as you're watching it, you want to, for instance, I'm watching this along and I say, okay, I want to stop it there. If I leave the playhead, that's what we call the little icon there. If we leave it there and then hit trim, it will show us where we were and make it very easy to drag your start point to that particular spot. You can also drag your endpoint to that spot, and they conveniently are set to, that if you're dragging it along, it will be inclined to snap to that spot. Often, as I try to tell you about it snapping, it's being uncooperative, but generally it will try to snap there to make sure that it gets the right spot. We hit done and the edit has been made. We also have the option to split the clip. So at whatever point you want to drag your playhead, we can play so that you can find the exact spot you want. Wherever this is, when you hit done, it will split the clip into two. And now you see I have two of them. And I could split another one from there or trim the second one if I wanted to cut out a segment. So if, for instance, there was a bit of a lecture where I just totally misspoke, said the wrong thing, skipped a slide, anything I want to get rid of, I now have two. I can trim this and cut out the entire beginning of that clip. Convenient. So those are your basic edits. Those are your make it shorter and get rid of things in the middle. So now we get to add a few fun things to our repertoire. So far so good on trimming and splitting? Do you need to see any of that again? Good?
Yeah, good.
Awesome. You're welcome to stop me if I am going too fast at any point. I can also bring in still pictures and they will just be pictures in my video, which can be fun as well. This is one of my cats because those are the pictures I happen to have on my computer at any given moment. So looking here again at our other options, we have an add title card option, which will add a still picture that works a little bit like a PowerPoint slide or just any picture that you can bring in where you want. It automatically put it where between the clips I had selected, but I can drag it before or after. I can drag it wherever I want in my timeline. The order of things in your timeline, or this program calls it a storyboard. I'm sorry. Whatever the order these are in is the order it will play. So I've added my title card. I now have the option to set a duration. So, but it's come in at 3 seconds. I could make it 1 second, 2, 3, 5, 7. I could make it 120 seconds if I wanted to. That would be a very long title card, but I could do it. For this one, I'll make it 5 seconds, which is a standard amount of time to read a title. We can add text. We're given a few different text style options that I'm going to arbitrarily pick that one. And up top, we type in the title, training video. We could make it anything we wanted. We can hit enter and add more text. You also have the option to adjust where on the screen your title appears in these different layouts. It's not as customizable as something like Final Cut Pro or Adobe Premiere. But if you want to create a title slide in 5 minutes, you have one. We also have the option to choose a background color, either from a number of pre-selected color choices, or we can use a custom color and drag anywhere on the color wheel. I'm a fan of purple, so I'm going to pick that one. So we have our title slide, we have our videos. On each clip, we also have the option to add text to a clip. At this point, I'm going through these options sort of in order. On a video, you have the option to add text, which will be very similar to the title slide we just did. We have our different options, text here. And this particular design choice blurs out the background, but they don't all do that. Simple, for instance, is just me. Moving forward in our lineup, we have the option to add some motion effects. So I can have it gradually zoom in on things or pan my video as it goes. These are, if you're doing a lecture, probably you don't want to do this, but if you're feeling fancy or trying to show off some pictures or something like that, it can be fun. Not saving that. Similarly, 3D effects. You can add 3D effects to your video. So for instance, I have some balloons that are going to now pop up and be balloons.
I want to take just a few minutes to introduce
Were I taking my time with this, I could conceivably attach them to a point and make the balloons come off my cat in the background. Yeah. So here's my anchor. I could anchor them to the cat and they would do that. But 9 times out of 10, you don't need to add balloons to your clip. That's just, the 3D effects are fun little things you could add. Filters will put a color change or a graphic effect over your whole clip. So this one could put it in sepia tones. This one is black and white. This one's kind of, I don't even know how to describe that color effect. But if you, for instance, if you find your own room a little bit drab and you want to act as though you have better lighting, you could warm up your whole image. If you're giving a history lecture, you could give it all in sepia tones and fit the period. Those are some options. And then the last main one here is speed. You can modify the playback speed and either speed things up or slow them down. Not generally something you're going to be doing for a typical lecture, but you never know. Here we have the option to, depending on the size of the video you created, for instance, if you shot something on your phone vertically, you might have black bars on either side of your image. You may have seen that in a YouTube video or something that if someone shoots like vertically on their phone rather than horizontally, the black bars show up. This gives you the option to remove the black bars or to adjust whether or not it zooms in to create a situation where there are no black bars. You can also rotate your footage if you happened to bring in a picture that was sideways. When we're on a picture, we have the duration option from the title slide. We have the text option, the motion option, the 3D effects, and the filters. We do not have the option to trim and split a picture because it is a static image. If we wanted to have 2 of the picture, we can simply drag it in twice. Let's see. So those are our basic options. We also have the option here to add background music, which will present you with a variety of music choices on that are built into this. I'm not sharing my audio, but if I clicked these, they would play. And I can hit done to bring that in, and it will be over the entire video. So if you're making a slideshow, that's a really easy option to add in some music. If you have a song on your computer that you like, you can use custom audio and add an audio file. I'm not actually sure I have an audio file within easy access on this computer, so rather than hunt for it, I will assure you that I could open it and then be done. When you are fully satisfied with what you have created, so as I'm adding things, I will probably make a point of periodically watching it through
Before we get started,
and seeing what it looks like. I'll pull that ahead a bit. We don't need to watch all 30 seconds of that.
training still
And there's the cat for a bit.
a little bit of background.
And there's more me.
Work in terms of getting.
And then we get to the end, and there's the cat again. If I say, great, I'm done, I'll go up here to finish video, export it as either, this is a different file size option. Generally, the higher quality video will be easier to watch. Things won't be pixelated. So that's the recommended, but if you have trouble uploading it places, if it's a really big file, you can always make it smaller. And I can export that. Now I choose where it goes. I will drop it on my desktop, call it training video, that's fine, and export. And now it will sit there and export. It's only about 2 minutes long, so it shouldn't take very long. And then it will open itself up. And I recommend watching it through at least sort of, we're going to say scrubbing through, which is pulling this playhead along and sort of spot checking to make sure that for the most part it looks okay. Just to make sure that everything is there, that it did in fact export correctly. You can hear all the music. Make sure it all worked. So that was the Windows version of this. Are there questions before I switch over to iMovie? Seem like something you can do?
Yep.
Bertel, do you need me to go over anything again?
No, I gotta, like I learned typing, peck, and I gotta play with it. But let me ask you a question. Does this method work with the audio file? Like, let's say I made an MP4.
Mm-hmm.
Can I can't use this for that. I have to do something else, use something else.
This would not be the best way to edit an MP4. I am not prepared to fully explain Audacity at this moment.
No, I don't expect you. But the bottom line is there's a separate program, so I can't use this for that.
Yeah, I would use Audacity would be my immediate recommendation for an MP4, which looks like this. But a lot of the same things will apply in terms of being able to split and that. I will make a note that you were asking about it and can get you some resources.
Thank you.
A question is just random then. Is Audacity also a free type of software?
Yes. Audacity is free. It is not built in. You will have to go download it, but it is free. I keep it on hand for when I need to, if I'm recording a voiceover and need to trim it down or cut something out. Actually, a lot of podcasters even use it for podcast stuff. For being free, it is remarkably robust.
Cool.
And if there is interest, I will happily prepare an Audacity workshop. It is not currently prepared, but it can be.
And I'm sorry, I might have missed it. You're you're saying that if I have a Zoom video, I can use what you just showed us, not Audacity, the
Yeah.
previous one. I can use that to trim it down. And
Correct.
edit it.
Yeah, so if you've saved the Zoom video to your computer,
Yep.
probably, I think it comes in as an MP4. As long as you know where it is saved, you can bring it in here and edit it. So in fact, the videos that I brought in were Zoom files. I recorded them in Zoom. And I just, when I saved them, I made a point of putting them in a folder where I knew to find them. If you don't know where to find them, you usually, Zoom will often create a Zoom folder on your computer where it saves the Zoom stuff, which mine appeared under documents when I initially downloaded Zoom and started saving things. So that would be my guess as to where to look for it first if you aren't sure.
Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome. Okay, so let's see if my ancient Mac is up for challenge here. Or I'm just gonna bump that. So stop screen sharing for a minute while I get the Mac put together. So for Macs, the default iMovie used to be built in. I'm not actually sure if it still is. I had to separately download it.
It is built in, actually.
Oh, good. I think I deleted it at one point. This is a Mac I haven't used in about a year, so I had to re-download this.
And I actually just got my Mac. I bought a new one recently, and I decided to also get Final Cut Pro,
Oh, awesome.
which I'm in the midst of learning how to use in addition to iMovie. So
That's great. Final Cut Pro will give you a ton of options. It just is more expensive and definitely a higher learning curve.
that I've seen. There's so many things that I need to figure out about it, and I want to try and make my movie clips more user friendly at times, and figuring out how to export them into a better universal code because of putting them online for students that may not be running QuickTime.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
But now I'm echoing, hang on. How much is the Final Cut Pro then?
Oh goodness, I haven't looked in years. Let me find out for you.
That's okay, I can search, I just, no,
You can, and you can also get a discounted rate because of being an employee of NCC. So there is an educational rate for the program itself.
By default, it is $300.
Yeah, I got it built in with my computer when I bought it new. So.
Oh, that's exciting.
Okay.
All right, so I have iMovie pulled up and we're ready to do pretty much the same things in iMovie just to see where they live on a Mac. When you first open iMovie, you will find, hopefully you will be taken to this screen where you have the option to create a new movie. If you were previously working on something, it may have it opened up already. But to get back to creating something new, there is this projects button in the corner, and we'll click on that to end up back on our home screen. I'm going to go ahead and create something new. We're going to be a little bit patient with this Mac because it got a new operating system yesterday, and I'm not sure it's pleased about it. We're going to create a new project. And we'll see a lot of similar features here. We have the space where all of our media lives. We have the preview space, and we have our timeline. or storyboard from the previous Windows-based one. From film school, I call it a timeline, and I do not mean to be confusing. So when we are ready to get started, we're going to import media. When there's no media here, we have just one big import media button. Once you have some media here, that button will not be here. And instead we'll go to File and Import Media. And it will open up your Finder and give you the option to, well, find things. I happen to know I have this on my flash drive. I have the 2 video clips from earlier, as well as the cat clip, and I'm going to go ahead and import them. And it's going to think about that for a few minutes. I've got the little beach ball of doom. There we are. To get started, very similarly to the Windows based system, we are going to click on our clip that we want to bring in and drag it to our timeline. We will see that in this particular program, we have a little bit more visual on what's going on in the clip. You can see that the clip changes over time so that you can get a sense of what you're looking at, which can help you find a particular spot, particularly if you're doing a PowerPoint presentation. You can scan through here and find just about the right spot of the slide you're looking for, and then can go back and forth from there. You also have these little sound waves at the bottom, these little spiky bits, and they indicate when you're speaking and when there is audio, and the valleys are when there is no audio. So what this can be really helpful for is finding your trim point at the end when you're done speaking and you're ready to find the part where you started going to end your recording and want to get rid of that awkward silence. That can be really helpful. So similarly to our Windows-based one, we have the option to trim and to split a clip. Here, we can just click on the end of the clip and drag it to stop whenever we would like. So if I wanted to shorten it to that 30-second mark, I could. In order to split a clip, you're actually going to right-click on it to bring up this set of options. You'll notice that there are keyboard shortcuts for this as well. I tend to just right-click. I find it easier, and I am not up to date on my Mac keyboard shortcuts. You can see we can split the clip. We can create a freeze frame from the particular moment we're on. I'm not sure why I would want to freeze frame that face that I am making, but I certainly could if I wanted to. I could detach the audio, which is a really great option for if you were recording, like if I were to record my animals playing in the living room, but we had the TV on in the background and I wanted to get rid of that background audio. That is an option we have here. I could trim the clip to where my playhead is. I can also show the clip trimmer, which is going to show me the audio options here. Don't use that one very much. That's a bit of a more complicated one. So here I'm going to split the clip, and now we have 2. So now I could drop Merle in the middle here if I wanted to. Similarly, we click and drag things into whatever order we want them to be. I could bring this first part of the video all the way to the end if I wanted to, and it would be there. Let's see. I'm cutting things. And similarly, we would use the split clip option to cut out mistakes. We would split the clip right before the mistake, go to right after the mistake, and split it again, and simply delete the mistake part. So, any questions so far about the basics of iMovie?
Well, maybe there's a setting you can switch the details And I was trying to use that, you know which one I'm talking about, the right corner, top right corner or middle right corner, says setting.
Settings.
That's where is in the storyboard, the top right corner of the storyboard, there's a setting. And I tried to put it to the right and left, and it was kind of I couldn't really control it. So any hint on that?
So what were you trying to accomplish with that?
Oh, so that kind of enlarged the whole storyboard, so make it even more detailed. I just had a hard time. They just blow up. Even I choose it very small, it just blow up really big. So
Yeah, so
because mine is longer, so it's like an hour. And when I choose to that, it's just getting all over the place. I thought I just make it a notch above.
yeah. So I'm just trying to think through your question, because when I'm doing this, it's making my clips larger so that I can more easily find the exact spot in what I'm looking for.
It might look a little bit different. So I just click on that little dot there and drag it to the right and left. Mine's different than that.
Oh, I see what you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah, so that one is pretty much the same setting with a few like specific points selected for you. That's zooming in and out of your clips. So if you zoom all the way out, it will shrink them to be shorter, like it'll sort of squish them all together so that you can see more of your timeline at once. And if you make it longer, it will lengthen it if you're trying to find a specific moment. For instance, if we're doing a more complicated edit, we might want to stop a clip right before somebody jumped or like left the frame or something like that. So we might want to expand this to find that exact moment and then shrink it back down so that we can see the next clip.
Okay.
If you combine that with under settings, this clip size settings, which will make the clips larger and smaller proportionally, you should be able to find the happy medium
Got it.
for how much you're trying to view at once.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So we've done the basic bit parts of this. We can add clips, we can shorten clips, and we can split clips. Now we're going to do some of the fun stuff, because if we're going to be video editing, we might as well add some titles and, you know, some special effects, some transitions. So instead of right above your timeline, which is where it was in the Windows one, above the this media previewer, we have a few options. One being audio is our first one, which what it's doing for me is it's bringing up the MP3s it can find on my computer, which in this case happened to be a geeky cover of Hamilton, but we'll run with it. Oh, good. Here's a Ben Sound one. Here's a stock music one that I can drag down and add to my timeline. You'll notice it appears under my tracks. What iMovie allows you to do is pretty cool. Is it allows you to layer clips on top of each other if you want to. So I could conceivably put me kind of on top of Merle if I wanted to, or if this was if I was trying to achieve a picture-in-picture effect and make this smaller, I could layer that. That's not necessarily something you need to do for your standard lecture capture, but it is an option. I can choose any number of these audio files and bring them and add them in kind of next to each other and to create a whole track. Our next option here is titles, which will create us a series of pre-done titles, similarly to the title slide we had access to in the Windows version. So if we double click on this, it will create a title for us. Training video. That this one comes with a split effect on it that will be more visible if I make it longer, which I'm doing by going to the end of the clip and zoom and dragging it. There we go. And if I play it, you can see that it's on top of me and therefore was transparent over me, but so you can just see it. I've put it on its own. Okay. And the split effect didn't do what I thought it did. But some of these, for instance, this standard one, might have a bit more going on. And you can preview all of these and see which ones do effects that you like. For instance, that one over 4 seconds kind of zooms in, but that is all a matter of taste. And from there, I can click and drag this around, change the order of things, bring my sound so that it covers everything. So the gist of this is that you're dragging your media where you want it to be. Backgrounds gives us the option to create some pre-rendered video. So I could, for instance, bring these curtains under my, under one of my titles and put the title on top. So then we have this cute little background effect of the title with a curtain under it. They have all sorts of pre-rendered audio backgrounds, different colors, the curtains, we've got some globe things. These function similarly to the background option on our title slide. I seem to have clicked world map, so it's going to take a moment to create world map. This is what I get for dividing my attention between two devices. Okay, so if I wanted a world map, I could bring it in. Our other fun option here is transitions. If you think about, you often see cross dissolves or something that might start with a hole in the middle and the hole gets bigger and it transitions from one clip to another. So I can drag any of these transitions between my video clips and it will create that transition. So if I hit play here, I can also, if I right click, there we go. If I double click on that, I can make the transition last longer. For instance, that 1 second one was a little bit hard to see, but if I hit play and now it takes 2 seconds, we can fully see what that looks like. And we transition and we crossfade. So those are all special effects you can add to the video fairly easily with iMovie. When you have a clip selected, you also have a series of options above it. We have color balance, which is a more in-depth option. But if you notice that that your colors seem a little bit off, for instance, maybe one problem I often have is that my walls in here are yellow, so I end up looking a bit yellow. If I can find something white in my picture to tell the computer what white is, it can correct for that and balance my color better. If you're not ready for color correction, that is okay. I usually do not bother. But if something is egregious, it is an option you have. Similarly with color corrections, crop can be a good option if you are filming on a phone or something like that. Or you can easily apply the Ken Burns effect to a video slideshow, which if you're familiar with Ken Burns, it's a documentary style in which you sort of gradually zoom in on an image or a video. It creates a little bit of visual interest from rather than just looking at a series of static slides. Here in the middle, we have a stabilize option, which if you're shooting handheld can help. If you're shooting on your webcam and your webcam is just sitting there, you shouldn't need this one. Audio, we can make our audio quieter if the audio is too loud in a particular clip. We can reduce our background noise. That's another advanced feature. But if you have, for instance, a fan going in the background or somebody's watching TV in the background, that it's not loud enough to be right there, but it's still annoying, you can try to increase your reduction of background noise by checking it and increasing it. Here we can increase the speed to slow fat. We can slow it to the percentage we want to, up to 50%. We can speed it up. We can create a freeze frame. We can also customize our speed by determining the percentage we would like the speed to be. So 200% would be very fast, 15% would be very slow. We can add filters similarly to how we could in the Windows version. I put on a silent era film filter and now I look ready to dramatically collapse on a couch. And that is the information on the clip. It tells me how long it is and the name of the clip. So that is the gist of iMovie. Is there anything you would like to see again or go into in more detail before I export this monstrosity?
So can you explain that video sign again on the top?
The
Yes.
that one?
Yeah.
So that is a stabilizing option.
Oh, okay, got it.
So if the camera is shaky, it will try its best to correct for it. So if I check it off, it will analyze for the dominant motion. So what it's going to do is it's going to see if, for instance, if it was going up and down and up and down, it would try to correct for that by finding your focal point and trying to reduce the amount that shook. It's not it's not going to correct for instance, if you were actively like riding a horse and filming, but if you're holding your phone and more or less steady, it can smooth that out a little bit and reduce some of the like seasick feeling that you sometimes get if you're watching really bad shaky cam footage. It's not, I brought it up just to make sure that I'd mentioned every icon, but it's probably not something you'll use for lecture capture unless you have handheld.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Anything else before we export this?
Can I ask a question after you export it? I just want to make sure you go over everything. And
Okay, the exporting will take about 3 seconds.
oh,
It just will tie up my computer for a few minutes.
oh.
So if you want me to show you something else, now is better.
So that I have a clips that there is the one picture I don't want to show, but the voice is still good. Should I just use detach and then just trim the video part and leave the sound, or any other way to just replace that part of picture?
So there's a few things you can do. You can detach your audio and then you can clip out that picture, which was your first suggestion. You could also put a different picture on top of it for that period.
Oh,
So if I wanted to grab Merle and put him on top of me for a few minutes, yeah, has to render for a moment. So my voice is still happening here because I put it on top of the clip where I'm talking, but he was on top of me for a few minutes. So depending on what your aim is, those are two options. Because if you just clip out the picture for a few minutes, you will want to replace it with something.
Right.
Because otherwise it will just be black for a few seconds. Which, I mean, not the end of the world depending on what you're doing, but ideally we have some visual.
Got it. Thanks. Very
No
helpful.
problem.
So another question is about when I do the PowerPoint, what's the best way to sometimes switch between the person, the speaker, and the PowerPoint? What's the best way to do that?
It depends on how you're recording it. If I'm recording in Zoom, I will usually switch between sharing my screen and not sharing my screen.
Okay.
Is probably the most straightforward thing to do.
Okay.
If you wanted, we could get complicated about this and we could record you could record yourself just speaking, and you could add your PowerPoint slides as their own media in here if you had them saved as a picture. But that would then require adding multiple layers of images to the edit, which would be a little more time consuming than having it done already in your recording.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So maybe another maybe more advanced question is there a way to change the quality of a voice, like make it like a cat sound? Because sometimes I want to blur someone's voice so people cannot recognize who is talking. Is there a way to do that?
There is a way to do that that is beyond the scope of what I have for this particular workshop. You would need to run it through some sort of audio filter that
Okay.
but I will make a note to get you some resources on audio filters.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Note made.
Thanks.
So we are approaching noon. So I'm going to go ahead and export this, which is file, share, which I found a little counterintuitive. So it's under file and share. And then under the share menu, we want to find file. And move my Zoom controls out of the way. It'll tell us how long our video is, about how big it's going to be. And when we hit next, we can give it a name and choose where it goes. I think documents is fine, so I will let it go there. And that's what it's going to be doing for a little while. It's doing this in the background, so in about 3 to 5 minutes, it's going to pop up and say, we're done, and then we're done. And similarly, we're going to want to watch it through. iMovie is yesterday. When we open up my documents here, you can see training video MP4 has appeared. It's still processing, which is why it has the QuickTime symbol on it. But if I pull up the one I did yesterday, it will have a little thumbnail that is one of the frames from your movie. Stop that share for the moment and see if there is anything else I can answer.
Sarah, which one do you like better? And or which do you think is more robust?
Definitely has more to offer than the Windows 10 based one.
Yeah.
So it's very much dependent on which system you have, because if you have a PC, it is certainly not worth going and getting a Mac for the sake of having iMovie.
Right.
So So the Windows 10 one is just fine for trimming things, adding some basic filters. If you wanted to try to make something a little more visually interesting, iMovie is going to give you more options. I will admit that when I'm going to edit on a Mac, I will usually pull up Final Cut Pro. Mostly because I like to remember that I went to film school and pretend that it has served me. And also that I have this expensive program. But iMovie does just fine for a lot of things. And yeah, hopefully that answered your question.
Since you recorded this today, first off, thank you for going over all of this. I use the Windows, so this is helpful for like the quick videos we make. You said that you'll record it, save it, and then will we get an email of the today's training?
It will actually go in our training repository on our website. So when you go to our website under the training, probably under ed tech tools and then video creation, I'll have video editing 101.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Excellent. We are just about at an hour. So that is what I have prepared. I'm going to stop the recording.